Well, we decided I would go last since I was Cory's favorite. I know it looks like I wrote a novel, but it's just big print, so I can see it. At times like this, nobody really knows what to say. There are no magical words to transcend death. But my brother Cory loved to tell stories. He was a great storyteller, pausing for emphasis, giving detailed descriptions, and oftentimes laughing at the punchline before it was even delivered. I love to listen to him tell a story. So today I hope I can tell a story about his life, and hopefully I will do it justice. Cory hated the way I sneezed. He was always complaining about the sound, the intensity, the frequency. He could never quite pinpoint exactly why he hated my sneeze, but he just did. But now whenever I sneeze, I will think of Cory and how he would ask me, "Why do you sneeze like that?" When Cory and I were kids, we played every day together. I followed him around, sometimes to his annoyance. But he was my role model. If he was He-Man, I was She-Ra. For those of you who don't remember, He-Man and She-Ra were legendary superheroes in the 80s. We loved to watch cartoon and reenact the battle scenes. We also loved Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was always right there with Cory fighting a good fight against Shredder. G.I. Joe and Barbie spent many afternoons sharing time and space together, because after all, if I was going to fight a good fight as Leonardo and him as Raphael, he was going to play house and cook dinner for all my stuffed animals. It was only fair. At a young age, we learned to compromise and be there for each other. Not to say it was all fun and games. Cory loved to torment me. I think he felt it was his duty in life to torture me, toughen me up, make sure nobody could mess with me, just him. If someone else did mess with me, they had to answer to him. He was crazy like that. Nobody could tease me, punch me, or do anything to me. All those rights were his. He loved to pin both of my arms down. He was so strong, he could do it with one hand and tickle me with the other. I'd scream and beg for him to let me go, but he thought it was so hilarious to see me struggle. I guess that is why it is so surprising to hear many of his friends talk about how he's a big teddy bear or a gentle giant. Well, let me just tell you, that is not the Cory I knew. I would probably call him the antagonizer. Kind of sounds like the Terminator or a superhero. But that's what he lived for, to drive me and my sisters crazy. He knew how to irritate each and one of us individually, and how to get us each riled up. He loved to tease me, pester me, and scare me regularly. I remember one time when I was 9 years old, back then when the signal to come home was when the streetlights came on. So I'm leaving my friend's house, and I'm riding my bike home. The garage is semi-dark, so I am a little cautious as I ride in and I check things out. I park my bike, and all of a sudden, Cory jumps out in a werewolf mask. Of course, I drop my bike, I'm running, screaming bloody murder through the house, and my mom scolds Cory and telling him, "That's not nice to do to your sister." But my dad was in the background trying not to laugh. I guess that's where Cory got it from. I can always say I have Cory to thank for how jumpy I am today. I'm always flinching or jumping from loud noises or people coming around corners. Because my whole life, there was Cory, behind a corner, waiting behind a door to jump out and scare me. But that was Cory, a prankster, always out to get a laugh at my expense. The antagonizer strikes again. As kids, we all loved sports. My dad played football, and my brother followed right along in his footsteps. I did swimming and eventually turned to basketball. But I can remember plenty of nights Cory and I played baseball till the streetlights came on, or hide and go seek with the neighborhood kids. We were always outside playing, and that would trans over into adulthood. Cory loved to take the dogs for runs, exercise, weight lift, late at night. It was important to him to be fit, strong, and in shape. Although his level of in shape is much bigger than the average person, he was a black belt in karate and could bench press from what I thought was 530. Cory was passionate about fitness and sports, He was passionate about everything he loved to do. As we grew up, Cory and I welcomed 2 more little sisters into our family. Growing up in a house with 4 women definitely helped Cory develop that romantic heart. Cory loved Coast 103.5, slow jams and love songs. He went to Titanic multiple times. He was the kind of guy that would write a poem for his girlfriend, or dedicate a love song to her on the radio, or draw a beautiful portrait for her. I guess he was a gentle giant. Before I could drive, I had to ride to school with Cory. He would blast those cheesy love songs, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, or Gotham City by R. Kelly. The whole ride to school. He would roll down the window so everyone could hear. I was so embarrassed. After all, I was a freshman and he was a junior. But he was a ginormous guy, and nobody was going to talk trash to him about listening to Celine Dion. Nobody was going to talk trash to him about anything, so he wasn't worried about it. Number 1, he loved these songs, and number 2, it was an opportunity to embarrass me. A win-win for Cory. When I got to high school, Cory was a junior and a full-blown football star. I was so proud to be his little sister, and for those first 2 years at North, I was simply known as Little Kipp. I don't think people even knew my first name. I was just Little Kipp. I was proud to be associated, but it didn't bother me. I was proud to be associated with my brother, Cory, even if it did limit my dating life. He still lived to torture me. He would come up from behind me and scare me at school. He would pick me up, swing me around like a little kid, or lock me out of the house for hours and wait till 10 minutes before my parents got home to let me in. Typical big brother pestering. But now it just wasn't me he was tormenting, it was my potential suitors. Could you imagine? Not only did you have to meet my huge brother, but you also had to meet my big scary dad. A double whammy. Even though I may not have benefited from Cory's presence in high school, I'm sure he benefited from having me there. Going back to compromising as kids, we had to play house. He had to play house if I was going to play cops and robbers. He learned how to treat a lady. He learned it was okay to be romantic and show emotion, only when it came to girls. Of course. He had a new pool of girls and my friends and teammates, which he took full advantage of. And he'd come to me for advice or tips on girls. Not that he ever thought he needed any. The biggest part of high school was football. I remember Cory spending hours practicing against trash cans in the front yard. The consistent noise of him hitting trash cans